Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from mercedcoder.com. This is going to be the second video where we're going to be talking about how to play with GraphQL and how to create GraphQL API. So now we know how to define a type and how to then send back data. And again, when you define your resolver, you can do anything you want in here. It can go to any database, go to any data source, pull in the information, long as what it returns in the end matches the schema. Okay, so at the end of the day, my get mice query says it returns an array of mice. So if long as it returns an array of mice, I'm good. And those mice have to look like this. Okay, and then again, my resolvers are defined here, so it matches the name, get mice. So that's good. And then again here, the reason why Apollo Server knows what are my types and what are my resolvers is because I pass them in when I create the server. So keep that all in mind. Life is good. Now, let's make this a little bit more complicated. Let's add another field. We're going to call it ID. So we're going to do ID 1. Okay. Let's just add that to each one. Control C. So each mouse will have an ID now. ID 3 or 2. And ID 3. So now I need to add that field over here to my schema. Okay, so that was ID. Okay, and then there's actually a special GraphQL type called ID, so I can just use that. And let's say I wanted to actually make sure that every mice has an ID. You cannot return a mouse that doesn't have an ID. It just doesn't work. I can actually require it by just giving it an exclamation point. Now, all of them have an ID because I hard-coded it in there, but theoretically by doing that, it'll actually like throw you an error if something doesn't have an ID. Like, you don't have to ask for the ID back. It doesn't have to be what you request, but if it doesn't have an ID, that record will error or will not show. Cool. Now, we're going to create another object or another type called favorite food. Const favorite food. Okay, favorite food, which is also going to equal an array. And basically each one's going to be an object. And we're going to say that the fields of this object are rat ID. So we'll say 1 to match up with rat number 1. And then the foods, which we'll say is cheese. Okay, keep it simple. Okay, and then we'll make 3 objects. Okay, rat ID 2, rat ID 3, even though they're mice, but not going to stress out about it right now. Pizza, pepperoni. Okay. I might be spelling pepperoni wrong, but I'll let it go. Cool. So now I have this separate object. Okay. And now I need to create a schema for favorite food. So we're going to have a new type called favorite food. And basically it has 2 fields, a rat ID, which is again just an ID. Oh, you add that over here before I forget, which is an ID. And a food, or foods, which is a string. Cool. Okay, and then mice, when you return mice, it's actually going to have another field called favorite, or we'll just say fav, and what the type that this particular thing is a favorite food. Okay, so basically this field has to return a favorite food. Okay, we're going to have to define how that favorite food comes to happen. Cool. So let's save. What we got so far. Okay, resolvers, query, get mice. Okay. Now we need to add. Then what we're going to do is we need to do what's called a child resolver. And we need to do a child resolver of mice. Because what happens is that mice, okay, has this food field. So let me put a comma here. Okay, has this fave field that it doesn't know how to go get that food. It doesn't know how to get the favorite food. So I got to define that. So, call that, and what is it? Lowercase fave, I think. Fave, uppercase. So fave. Okay. So now I need to create a resolver called fave to match this favorite food thing. So I'm gonna go back to my resolvers. Okay, we had get mice. Now I need to do another one called fave. Okay, that's all good. And what it's gonna do, it's gonna have to take the parent ID. So let's see here, let's think this through. Well, we need to grab the information from the favorite food array. Okay. Favorite food dot, actually we're just gonna return this, the result of this. So return favorite food dot filter. So we only want to filter for the one where the ID matches. Okay, and then we're just going to call this fave for each item in the array. And we only want to return whether fave dot rat ID equals parent dot ID. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to console log parent.id just to make sure that we know that we're getting that right parent ID. Okay, and that's good. So it's going to log the parent ID. So that should be the ID of the mice, because again, this query is a child query, because basically in order to return this fave field, we need to actually go query for the favorite food. Okay, so it's a child query. So the parent query is going to be get mice. So it's going to return that information from there. Okay. So again, the way you read this is get mice returns an array of mice. The problem is that each mice has a field called favorite food. And favorite food is a favorite food type. But how do you get the favorite food type? Well, it's going to run this fave child query of the mice type, which is defined up here, which is basically going to just filter out that array and get the ones that match the ID. I'm just making sure that that all makes sense. Let's just add the 3 equal signs just to be all nice and proper. Save. I need to restart the server. So let's go down here, restart the server. I'm not using NodeMon at the moment. Inspected token return. Where was that? Return favorite ID. Let me go back up there and look at that. Return. Yeah, I don't think I need the return there. Just think about that for a second. Filter, and we'll put that right there. Fave ID equals parent ID. Yeah, that should be good enough. Save, because it should be an implicit return. But it complains. Let's find out here. Error, unknown type ID. Did you mean ID? Unknown type favorite food. Did you mean favorite food? Let me see how I name these things. Yes, it is supposed to be favorite food. But no, that array is defined down here. Does it need me to do it right afterwards? Probably. So I guess we'll move these resolvers, const, cut these out, put them below the data. So that way the data is already defined. By the time it reads it, favorite food, parent.id No, it should be right. ID. Then rat ID should be spelled that way. Yeah. So that should be all good. Let's run that again. See if it still complains. Probably will. See here. Error known unknown type ID. Like, give me a line. Unknown type ID. Give me type ID. Favorite food. Did you mean favorite food? Oh, I see why. This should be favorite food because the type is favorite food here. Cool. And then here, rat ID is an ID because technically that's how it is in GraphQL. Okay, there we go. We should be good now. There we go. So let me go back to my server. Let me refresh just to make sure that's all there. Okay, schema. Make sure that it all, I don't need to see the schema. I see the docs. Just make sure that it took my changes, get mice. We're just going to get an array of mice. Mice have favorite food, which has ID and string. Or ID and foods. So if I can run get mice and say, hey, I want the mice's age, and I want their fave. Now their fave is an object, so I have to ask what information I want back. I only want the foods. Okay, so I'm going to run the mice query. It's going to get me all the mice, but only their age and their favorite foods. And I only want the foods. I don't want the ID of the rat ID for each one. And that's exactly what it gets me. Okay, oh, null. Okay, so that means something didn't quite work as expected. Okay, let me take a look at my thing here. Okay, it is parent ID. Again, we're logging that, so it is console logging the right ID. Let's take a look at our... Make sure that I have this all labeled exactly the way. Fave.rat ID. Rat ID is that. Yeah, so equals parent.id. So that should return the first item. So that would return... Oh, wait a second. I know why. Okay, what we want to do is only return... Because what happens is that filter is returning an array. It's not expecting an array. It's expecting one singular favorite food. So I have to return one favorite food, not an array with one favorite food. So what I can do is I can just do this. 0. Okay, because technically this is going to return an array, and I want that first element of the array. So that should do that. Okay, I need to restart the server. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, yep, then that restarted. So let's go over here and refresh this just in case. I mean, it should take it right away because it's all communicating with the same server, but now let's run that query again. And see, now it works. Foods, cheese. Because even though it's returning an array, it's only actually returning the first element of the array, so it's returning a singular favorite food. So you can understand sort of like how the shape of the query moves and whatnot. Cool. And then we can do mutations. So let's talk about that. Okay. Oh, let me expand that. So not only do you have queries, but you can also have type mutation. Okay, and we can call it, so again you would create a, okay, and then what you can do is do something like this, like get, no, we'll say age mice will be the name of the mutation, and at the end when it's done it's going to return the array of mice. Okay, so there's our mutation. Okay, so we have query, we have our subquery for mice, but I also need my mutation. Actually, I'm going to put mutations above mice. Just feels more proper. So mutation. I always forget if it's supposed to be mutation or mutations, but we'll find out. Okay. Okay, so then we create the object here. I'll add the comma here so that we're all good and dandy. And then that's going to be called age mice, the mutation. Okay. And let's take a parameter. Okay, let's take one parameter. We'll call it age by, which is going to be an int. Okay, so we're going to have one mutation called age mice, which takes a parameter, which is an integer called age by, and returns an array of mice. Okay, so now mutation, age mice, and now I got to go over here and define that age mice thing. Age mice. And what I want this to do, okay, actually let's log, this would be args dot age by, because that's the argument, so we can make sure that it's getting the argument right, because it's part of the args object, not part of the parent object. So before we were using the parent object because we were trying to get the mice's ID, because that's the parent query. Now we're going to be pulling from the argument. So let's see here, return, what we want here is we want to return the mice array. Return mice. What's the array called again? Just mice, right? Oh, there it is up there. Mice. So we're going to go do mice, but we're going to alter the array. We're going to age the mice. So we're going to do mice equals, or mice.map, so that allows us to return an altered array. And then we're going to call each one mouse. And basically we're going to reduce return mice, or we're going to return an object that has pretty much all the, that we're going to take the age, see what's the current age of the red ID. So mice name, tail size, age, just age. So we're going to take the age in this object is going to equal mouse, the current mouse's age, plus args dot age by. So they're going to age by that much. And then the remainder of the object is going to have the rest of what's already in the mouse. So basically the other stuff is going to be unchanged because I'm going to use the sorry, the rest operator. I want the rest of the mouse. And but except the age. The age is going to be the current age plus the age by, and it's going to return that as an array, and that should satisfy my query because it's returning an array of mice, which is what it expects. Okay, cool. So let's save that. That should all be in good to go. Let me restart the server. Control C. And it doesn't like my rest operator. Let's see here. Token, unexpected token. Why don't you like it? Okay, mouse. Should be fine. What's this saying? Okay, instead of wrestling with the rest operator right now, I will just do this. Okay. I will make it simple and just say, what are the other fields in mice? Well, what I can do is I can just do the spread operator in the beginning. That's probably what I need to do. So I'll do as a spread operator instead. Okay, mouse. Save. Let's see if this still complains. Yep. Rest parameter must be the last. Well, that's what I did. Okay. Okay. So let's try that again. Now it understands what I'm doing. but it's still complaining. Save. Okay, am I misreading this? Age, mouse plus age. Is this a comma? I think it's a comma. Okay, I'll just do this the longer, more verbose way, which is just redefining each variable individually. Okay, which means I won't have to do ID is mouse.id. Name is mouse.name. And tail size is the current mouse's tail size. Okay, that should do the job. Would have been nice to be able to do it with the rest operator, but we don't want to be wrestling with that for the next few minutes, so unexpected token. Okay, so that means something else is wrong. Let's see here. Let me think about this. Mouse. Oh, okay, I think I see why. It's thinking that this is the function, not an object. So let's put it in parentheses. So that way it knows it's like returning that object, those curly brackets don't define the arrow function. Let's see here. Let's try that again. Okay, now it works, because now what happens if you put the parentheses, that's another way of saying implicit return, because normally it would be like mouse and then the function, so I think these curly brackets are the function. So I could have just threw in the word return, but we'll leave it at that. This does the job. So technically I could do the rest operator again, which I'm going to do because I just think it looks better. So I'm gonna cut that out. Mouse. Save. There we go. I like clean code. Let that run again. Let's make sure we're all good. And it's running, so let's head over here, refresh, and let's try this mutation. So it should age the mice if all goes well. Now, before we even run it, let's just make sure that it shows up in the documentation. So there's our, hey, there it is. There's our mutation. And then we can see that it takes an argument, age by int, and then returns us an array of mice. Nice. Gotta love how that works. But now for mutation, you gotta do this a little bit differently. You actually gotta type in mutation, and then the curly brackets, then the name of the mutation, then the argument, and you actually got to specify the argument. So age by is going to be 2. Okay, and it's red, so that means there's something funky. Wait, so field age myself must have selection of, oh, okay, so it just needs more information. Okay. So then I want each mice's age, name, and their fave. Now, of course, fave is a type, so I gotta specify that even further. I just want the foods from that. And now I think we're good. And it worked. Okay, so it aged each mice by 2. Which actually, no, it did not. Age, because that should be a bigger number. So let's re-examine. Did I actually alter the age? Mouse.age plus args.age by, and did it print my 1, 2, 3, and there was my argument. So the argument came in fine. So we see the argument there. Then again, it printed out the ID for each one when it went to go get the foods. So it's doing as expected, but the array it's returning does not have the right age. Let's assess this. So we're returning a property called age, which is what the original array has, a property called age, and we're saying it equals the current age, mouse.age, plus args.ageBy. What would be wrong with that? What we could do is this. I need diagnostics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to refactor this a little bit. I'm going to actually make that a curly bracket for a function. Then we're going to just turn this into a separate object. Okay, then put that there, like that. And what I want to do is we're going to add this ahead of time. So we're going to say mouse. So we're going to say new age equals, and then I should probably put a declaration on there, const new age equals mouse.age plus args dot age by. Okay, the reason I want to do that is because I want to log the new age, make sure that's doing that's resulting in what we think it's supposed to result in, and then if that all is good, it'll just basically be the new age. Okay, let's save that. Let's rerun the server. Probably should have installed NodeMon at this point. Okay, and let's run this again. Well, let me refresh just to play it safe. Okay, mouse 1, age. The age is still unchanged. Shouldn't, because the new array should be returning it with, unless it's the okay, well, let's do this. Nope. Okay, let's go back to redefining this the long way. Okay, ID mouse.id name mouse.name tail size mouse.tail size. Save. Okay. And let's kick up that server again. And let's see, maybe was it the REST operator that was causing me an issue? I don't think so, but doesn't hurt to test. Okay, I guess that was the issue. So now you see it does add the age. So I guess when I was doing the REST operator, it was overwriting the new version of the age property with the old one, but it shouldn't. But that's a different question. That's not a GraphQL question. That's a REST operator question. Cool. But yeah, so see, we created a mutation. It edited the original data, and you could add data. So literally anything you could, because basically what it just does, it just runs the code in the resolver. So you could add data, subtract data, manipulate data, do whatever you want, long as at the end you return what you said you're going to return. So long as at the end of the day, age mice returns me an array of mice, and a int is passed as an argument called age by, we're good. It just does what it's going to do. And then and basically when you submit from the front end, you're just submitting this as your query. You're just going to submit a string that says this. Okay, literally you can just copy and paste that, put that into a fetch request as a string that you send as the body of your request. So what you would do is you would actually have, you would create basically you would send a string in an object, and then the object would just have the word mutation in it, or query if it's a query, and then you would put this inside of that as a string, and then it returns you the data to that endpoint. And then this technically is my endpoint. So very cool. GraphQL is really cool. This is Apollo server, the Apollo server library, which allows you to build that server in GraphQL. Not the only way to do it, but I certainly like the way this works. And yeah, so you guys have a great day, and hopefully you now know GraphQL a little bit more. Thank you.